Plus-sized, dark-skinned black women are rarely the love interest. They're the mammies, the sidekicks, the sassy best friend, the one who uplifts everyone else while never really getting a full storyline of their own, and especially not a romantic one. When the movie Sinners brought us Annie, a dark-skinned, plus-sized priestess who was loved by a man that was played by someone that stereotypically is casted alongside smaller, lighter women as a love interest, it kind of felt like a small win. She wasn't comedic relief or a throwaway side character. She honestly and truthfully was the heart of this story, or an anchor, if you will. And most importantly, she was loved. In this video, we're going to be breaking down why Annie's role was so important when it comes to representation, fatphobia, and colorism in Hollywood, and how Ryan Coogler's revolutionary representation of her might spark change in future Hollywood films. Let's get into it. And quick disclaimer, there will be spoilers in this video, so if you haven't seen the movie or you do not want spoilers, then go watch the movie, come back, and watch this video. Let's get into it. Now, before we get into Annie, we have to discuss what came before her, or maybe more importantly, what hasn't. Hollywood has never been subtle about who it deems to be worthy of being loved, and for plus-sized, dark-skinned black women, this list usually doesn't include them. For decades, they've been boxed into the same handful of roles: the mammy, the no-nonsense sidekick, the sassy comedic relief. Always supportive, rarely a central character, and never the one someone's ready to risk it all for. If we go back and look at characters like Mammy in Gone with the Wind, or Big Mama in every 90s movie or television show, or even more recent portrayals like Precious, and we can't forget when that man made Sheila drive up that mountain.
I don't know what this is all about, but I'm going up this mountain to save my marriage.
These women were stripped of their desirability, and you cannot tell me it has nothing to do with skin complexion, body size, or both. Their love lives were either non-existent or extremely traumatic, especially if we look at roles like Precious. Her story was rooted in pain, abuse, survival, struggle. It almost feels like for black women, especially darker skinned, plus-sized black women, trauma, abuse, etc. is a precursor to being in a romantic relationship. Meanwhile, the ones that do get to kiss in the rain, the slow dances, the emotional monologues, look a little bit different. They're typically a lot slimmer or lighter in complexion. Now, as the years have gone on, darker skinned women have gotten more love on screen, but we're still working on the plus size inclusivity of it all. So when the movie Sinners introduces someone like Annie, who isn't just a side character. Now, has she been through traumatic events? Absolutely. I mean, she is a black woman living in the Mississippi Delta in the 1930s. But she still is a fully formed woman, the heart of the story, and is given and shown love by her counterpart. Throughout this film, you can absolutely feel the love that these two characters have for each other, and the love that Smoke has for Annie is very gentle, very soft, and also very rare for a character like Annie, and it's so very important. Now, Annie being a hoodoo priestess could have easily made her a background character, like an oracle or this mystery woman that they went to go visit in the woods when they needed help. But that wasn't the case. She was in a majority of the film and played a very pivotal role. And when it came to Smoke, it didn't feel like their relationship was like, oh, I love her in spite of her complexion or in spite of her size. It felt like he truly, honestly loved her for who she was, and it felt very real and authentic. And we all know that scene when he first went to go visit her in the cabin and she uttered those words,
"Your body ain't forget me."
Now, was I clutching my pearls in the theater both times that I went to see it? Yeah. I was. But I'm so glad they did that because, I mean, how often do you get to see love scenes that aren't like comical or silly or traumatic with a plus-sized, dark-skinned black woman? I mean, in my opinion, that was very necessary, and I loved that we got to see this on screen, and I'm so happy that freaked out Ryan Coogler included that in this movie. If you've seen the movie, you know. Annie did not have to change who she was to be desirable to Smoke's character. She didn't need to go through this crazy makeover. She didn't have to beg him throughout the movie. It was just a natural occurrence. And them as a couple, especially for the time, felt very real. It felt very raw. It felt very authentic. It felt like I was watching two people that have real life history kind of contend with their grief and their loss and, you know, certain decisions and the pain and anxiety of him going off to war and then leaving off to go to Chicago. Like, it kind of felt like we were dropped in the middle of a very real couple, but despite all of their tensions, anxieties, drama, whatever, they still had a very real and tender love for one another that was very mutual and double-sided. The reason why Annie's character hits so hard, as I've mentioned, is because we don't usually get to see characters like Annie be a love interest, not just in horror films, not just in period pieces, but as a whole. Hollywood has a type, and Annie does not fit into that mold by any means. She's not thin, she's not lighter in complexion, but despite this, she's not any less beautiful or desirable than the women we typically see get to play in these romantic roles. I mean, Annie's presence is really just reiterating the fact that you can choose to not include certain people in narratives, but that doesn't mean that what you're perpetuating is true. Just because you continue to put certain people into these roles doesn't mean that you're not turning your back to a gigantic blaring issue. The issue that because you as an individual don't see someone like Annie as desirable, that nobody else in this world would, when that's the furthest thing from the truth. There's plenty of women like Annie that are in loving relationships, that are in romantic partnerships, etc., that deserve representation on screen just like everybody else. But imagine how a lot of these women are feeling when time and time again, the characters they do see on television that look like them are treated as throwaway characters, as laughing stocks, as sidekicks. Imagine the messaging that sends to a person when you're seeing this over and over and over and over again. And I think that it's so important that Ryan Coogler wrote Annie the way that he wrote her. And not only with Annie, but in so many categories when it comes to filmmaking. Ryan Coogler really changed the game with this movie. And I really think that he has changed the landscape of filmmaking forever. Like, I'm not even saying that to be dramatic.
A unique deal was struck with Warner Brothers. Director Ryan Coogler of Sinners was able to strike this powerful deal to be able to own the rights of Sinners after 25 years. This is a big game changer. And why is that? Because as creatives, we need to take ownership of our work. Ryan Coogler has set the example for us as filmmakers, as artists, whatever the case may be. If you're running your own business, make sure your name is on that dotted line and on your work so that you can take ownership of the things that you make.
But specifically in this video, we're talking about darker skinned plus size women and the way that they are represented in media. I think he really is going to have a large effect on how this is shaped in the future, and I'm really excited to see how this further plays out down the line. When we talk about representation, it can easily feel like a buzzword that's being thrown around. Okay, we have a black person, we have an Asian person, we have a white person, we have a this, we have a that, you know? Why does it sound like I'm rapping? Representation can feel like a buzzword that's being thrown around, but what what Ryan Coogler did so amazingly in this film was he made sure that Annie was not just a checkbox or something that's like a here damn. She filled in a gap, okay? She didn't just check off a box, she filled in a necessary gap that is missing in Hollywood and media as a whole. It's not just about taking a dark-skinned woman or a dark-skinned plus-size woman and throwing her on screen haphazardly. You can tell he was very intentional about every word that he put on that page when he was writing not only Annie, but every character in this movie. Annie was real, Annie was relatable, Annie was full of heart, Annie was completely necessary and a breath of fresh air. And Annie being on screen reminds us that love doesn't have a type. Love doesn't have a type in real life, so why should it on screen? So when we have characters written like Annie, it kind of cracks the door open for more writers to see, okay, you know what? This worked. And not only did this work, it blew everyone out of the water. And I wouldn't be surprised if some people thought that the fan favorite would be Mary, but I've been seeing a lot of discussions about how people cannot stand Mary and how Annie was a fan favorite. And not only am I loving this for Annie, but I'm loving this for the actress that plays her as well. This isn't a diss at Haley Steinfeld. It's just her character was a little bit insufferable, but that's besides the point. To close this out, I want everyone to say thank you, Ryan Coogler, okay? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Ryan Coogler, for the work that you put in to this phenomenal masterpiece of a movie. And I cannot wait to see what you have coming next. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Tell me what you thought about Annie as a character, or tell me who your favorite character in the movie was. I cannot wait to hear you guys' opinions in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell. I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.